Ian, Tom Hitchcock, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Tom. How are you?
I cannot complain. It's been a good week so far. Long may it continue.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to hit the elephant in the room. Your accent, you've got a very strong accent.
Well, it's a mixed bag, really. I'm from North Nottinghamshire, which borders South Yorkshire. Then I was in the forces, you share rooms with guys from different regions. So I picked up a bit of Scottish, a bit of Welsh, a bit of Mancunian over the years, and then having travelled around the world, even spoke a little bit of an Aussie accent for a while as well. So, but now I'm back home. It's the kind of the South Yorkshire twang is coming back.
It's interesting. Obviously, I'm from the UK. Everyone thinks I'm Australian when I ring home, if you like. But when I first heard you talk, I could hear some Scottish, but it wasn't quite Scottish. I could hear some Welsh, but it wasn't quite Welsh. And when as soon as you said Nottingham, then I could hear that as well. So he definitely got a bit of everything in there.
Yes, yeah, mixed bag.
So anyway, all right, listen, I'm rambling on now. Tell us a bit about yourself, mate.
Okay, my name's Iain Copeland. I'm a civil engineer. I work for a company called Jacobs. My role is what they call an NEC4 supervisor, and that for those that are not familiar with that term, that is a clerk of works in old money. I've been with them 8 years, thoroughly enjoyed it. I was on the contractor side for a good 20 years, and then I moved to the client representation side with Jacobs as they are a project management consultant. I guess my journey from joining Jacobs to going backwards, I was a troubled teenager. Being a redhead, you're a target for a bullying. If you'd have ever known my dad, he wouldn't allow that. So it was a case of don't stand for it. Um, Although I was seen as a trouble causer, it was mostly in retaliation for someone trying to bully me. So didn't get on at school, left school at 15 with zero qualifications, ran my own market stall selling cheap jeans, second-hand jeans for a while. And then I was eligible for go to college. My dad was a welder, so he wanted me to be a welder. So, but having no qualifications, it was quite difficult. But my dad was a very persuasive man, so he went with me to the college. Did 1 year at college as a welding apprenticeship, and then joined the army. So I was in the Royal Engineers for 9 years. I actually finished my welding apprenticeship off in the army, but then once you finish that, I was put into a construction squadron. Never touched welding. It was all concrete and civil engineering biased. So, having done various things in the forces, spent a bit of time on the special forces side of things as well. Felt I needed another. It was time for a change. I think I'd achieved everything I wanted to achieve in the forces. Left, didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I did know construction, the basics of construction. Ended up on, so I'd been married, got married while I was in the army, left. We were settled in the northeast because my wife at the time was a Geordie, and got a labouring job, not really having a clue. Military construction is very different. It's a different set of standards, a different set of rules to civilian construction. So from that, the foreman one day said, the steel fixing gang over there are short of what they call a nip hand, which is a steel fixer's labourer. So I joined them, and for some reason they took a shine to me, and I was stuck with this gang for a good 6 or 7 years, and was a steel fixer, I think. And then I was edging towards my 30s, and one February morning at 5 o'clock, when it was raining, I decided I needed to do something else. So from that moment on, I put myself through adult education, distance learning, and sometimes I managed to do a stint at college as well, and managed to get my civil engineering qualifications. From that, it was a case of I didn't go into the traditional graduate scheme or anything like that. It was a case of getting agency work. But with agency work, they seem to give you the worst jobs that are going. So I'm a big believer that calm seas don't make good sailors. So from that, being put in situations that I thought was impossible at the time did help me grow quite quickly. So from there, I went, was a setting out engineer for a good 5 years, and then moved and worked for the big tier one contractors, your likes of Balfour Beatty, brilliant at the time before they went, the likes of that. And then from there, I eventually got work overseas in the Caribbean. So I was in the Caribbean for a few years, and it's all American standards. Forget your millimeters and meters; it's all feet and inches. So that was a learning curve. And then came back to the UK. Again, got back into one of the precast factories. The Lang O'Rourke built a big precast facility near where I lived. So I was with them for a while. I went on the quality side, and I've been with the quality side of things for now 15 years. So from there, did a stint in Australia as well, then came back. Yeah, got a project management job on a precast. We were building a big prison in North Wales, and then from there, it was a case of working for other precast installers and such. And it's at that point that Jacobs approached me because they needed a subject matter expert in precast manufacturing and precast insulation as well. So from there, I was the subject matter expert and the NEC4 supervisor, NEC3 supervisor at the time before it got changed to NEC4. And then I've been with Jacobs ever since. But on that journey, that's quite career, very much focused on that career. In that time, I'd been divorced, mental health issues with stress and anxiety, a stint of homelessness because of the mental health issues. So yeah, it's been a I wouldn't say a rough ride. I'd say it's a very steep learning process on where I was and where I am now. And although at the time I was going through hell, I've come through it, and I feel that I'm a better person for it, Tom.
Good. All right. So before I start to unpack that with you a little bit, and thanks for sharing. How long was you in Australia for?
4 years. So I was on the 457 visa. So I was out in the Pilbara, building the Roy Hill iron ore mine. Yeah, and
Yeah,
then
nice. Was with Jacobs as well.
no, that was with Brookfield Multiplex.
Yeah, got you. Oh, they're from there as well, weren't they? So
That's right. Yeah.
okay, all right. So one thing you said, you used one analogy which I use as well, one of many as we do. But I think it's, if I'm to hazard a guess, it's one you lean into regularly. And it's the smooth seas don't make for a skilled sailor.
Correct.
I think that's, from listening to you and observing, it's probably one that when shit happens and the trials and tribulations of life, that one's the one that helps you maintain your sanity and persevere.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's what I mean. I mentor a lot of the young engineers that come on site on this current project. They didn't flood it with apprentice engineers, but there was a lot. It was a case of showing them, giving them a broad brush of what I'm expecting to see. And then from there, rather than actually show them the details, get them to tell me what they should be doing and then show me what they should be doing. And then at that point, I will say, why do you think explore, get them to explore a deep dive on what they've done and why they've done it, where they've got that information from, how would you interpret that? So it's all a case of putting the pressure on them to give me the answer. And then that's how I've found that you can develop people a lot more. And again, it's I'd never like to brush anything under the carpet. Let's hit it head on, no matter what road bumps we hit. Let's deal with it, because on that I found that part of that analogy is communication. Communication is absolute key. Relationship are built on communication, and without communication, you're never going to get anywhere, and you're not going to tackle those rough seas.
Absolutely. I think the way that you bring people through is a good methodology. It's by definition empowerment. I'm curious though as to, obviously, by giving that empowerment to your apprentices, for example, and giving them the opportunity to tell you how they would do it and why they would do it, etc., etc. So either they've got it right, or you can see their thinking and you can correct them in the errors. Is that something that you've experienced firsthand, or is it something in hindsight you wish you'd had previously in your career?
It's what I'd wish I'd had, because some of the projects you go on to, the site managers, the foremen, the project managers are absolutely brutal, and they give no room for any mistakes at all. So whereas my approach is, if a guy's got it wrong, I'll get them to explain where they think wrong, or why have they got it that far, where do they think they could have done better, and where they could have got the correct answer from. However, on the experiences I've had, you are stood on a brass line getting screamed at, and it's a case of go and learn it, go and find out yourself. It's probably more brutal method than what I've used, and it's the same thing. But I mean, I've made some monumental mistakes, huge mistakes, and felt the repercussions for it. There was no, where do you think you went wrong? It was just a case of go and put it right. Oh yeah, and by the end of the week, you're finished. So that's the kind. But whereas it doesn't make good for a harmonious working environment, and it's really does. If you're not akin to being mentored, then you do. I felt I suffered, and I've mentioned having anxiety, stress and anxiety through my mental health issues were stress and anxiety through that. So as a setting out engineer, when you wake up at 2:30 in the morning going, my God, it should have been 20 mil, not 25 mil. I mean, that's not good. That's not a healthy working environment to be in.
I hear you. That's hell on earth. Okay, there's no way around it. Okay, so again, that resonated with me again. But you told us that your father had a strong sort of iron fist rule on this, and it forced you to do something that your otherwise probably wouldn't have done, if I'm correct.
Yes, right. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't, I was we'll call it a late bloomer, shall we say. So I was small in stature for my age, and being a redhead. Now, predominantly, I mean, it was 99.9% what white population in our town. So there wasn't much choice for the bullies, as it were. So the only thing they could see was the ginger kids that were poor. So it was generally that. And when I used to come in, continually bullied for being red haired, all this, and because of being a small stature, they thought I couldn't fight back. It got to one point where, well, I'm either going to get name called, and it probably leads into getting pushed or punched or kicked and stuff, and I wouldn't fight back. But it came to a point where I was about 11 or 12, where I thought, well, I'm just going to get beat up anyway, so I might as well go down fighting. And so I carried that on. So from, I mean, the old system, the first year to the fifth year when you leave. So from the first year till the fifth year, probably had about 500 fights, and this is all through again getting into confrontation with people, but it kind of snowballed because they knew there was someone game, so that the lads trying to make a reputation of themselves. Well, they knew that I was game all the time, or you say two or three things to Iain and he'll kick off. But it was all in retaliation because my dad just wouldn't let me put up with it. So from there, yeah, I probably had about 500 fights at school. I put in A&E 8 times, something like that. And it wasn't just one-on-one either. It was usually me and two or three others as well. But my dad was, if I'd come home with a bloody nose or a black eye and was like, well, did you get beat? Yeah, I did, Dad. Right, do you know where he lives? Yeah, I do. Right, go back out, knock on his door and go again. So that was my dad. But it was a case. It's not a case of having a fight and you hope you win or lose. You hope you win. It was a case of just have the fight, because eventually they'll stop doing it. And they did to a certain extent. My year and younger, after a certain while, they never bothered. But it was the older kids and the bigger kids that knew there was a lad that was game for this. It never ceased until probably the end of the fourth year, I think, when all the or the oldest that left.
Well,
I would say long term, I don't see defeat as what most people see it. I just see it as, well, that's just part of moving forward. You win some, you lose some. I probably lost more than I did win. Carrying that on, that's helped me develop a kind of keep moving forward. Just do not stop. So, I mean, I was quite focused, and that aggression was focused when I was in the army, and that made me that channeled me into being disciplined and focus on my fitness, which I'm still keen on. That's religion to me now, and it has been for many years. But I think that determination to keep going and do not stop has got me through leaving school with nothing to be I think that being a member of the Institute of Civil Engineers is a big achievement. From nothing, a trouble causer that left school with nothing, to where I am now with a company like Jacobs. I'm representing a client. So at the moment, I'm representing one of the major water companies, and whereas I've also represented the MOD as well, companies in the nuclear industry. I don't think if I'd been put in that situation in the younger years, I'd have moved forward. I'd have probably still been labouring on building sites in my 50s, where I'm not now. I'm currently looking at getting charter status as well. So for me, it's a big achievement. People with more of an academic background, that's just part of the parcel. But for me, I feel I've achieved that because of my earlier life is the lessons to keep moving, keep going.
Oh, that's fantastic, and it is. It's all about running your own race, and I think kudos to yourself to the way that, to pick your words, you've channeled your life experiences. Now, so we're running close to the end now, but I do want to give some bandwidth to when you're homeless, if you're okay with that. I want to see maybe what.
Yeah, it was. So I'd recently got divorced, and it wasn't anything sinister other than we just weren't getting on anymore. So there was a lot of arguments, and I didn't want. One of the reasons was I didn't want my daughter to think that couples arguing is a normal thing, and it was a quite toxic environment. So I basically pulled the pin on the marriage. Um, I'd I'd got some work in the area, but I just wasn't dealing with. I mean, I was single, but I was very lonely as well. Having worked away and stuff, I'd lost a lot in touch with friends and that were in the area. So I decided to kind of make a break, and I moved up to. I got a site engineer job came up in Glasgow. They said it was for 6 to 8 weeks. So I got up there, got some digs, rented a room, all the while dealing with this new job, very difficult project. And the job was coming to an end. So, but for some reason, my landlady panicked, thinking I was going to be out of work. So rather than just, and there was at the time there was lots of work about, but for some reason, she said, "You're going to be out of work next week. I want you out," and basically kicked me out. So from there, I had kind of I would call it a mini breakdown, and I just basically turned the phone off, lived in my car, and I'd got no money in my bank because I'd just sent all my savings to my wife to make sure that they are good for a few months while I'm working away, because we were split up now. And I didn't want to neglect that duty. So I was skint. I was living in my car, and I just went in myself. And at that time, it was a very dark place for me. And it was, I'd say it was a point in my life where it was a turning point. What do I do next? What do I do next? But because of the mental state at the time, you don't think rationally. So there wasn't a clear way of thinking what I was doing. So it was a case of, I mean, I'd found there was a row of shops, and obviously at the back of the shops there was a row of bins. And what I'd found is any past the sell by date, they just chuck at the back. So that was probably, I used to visit the back of those shops every couple of days and check the bins for what there was. And at one point there was a big box of, the bean feast. You mix up it's like a mincemeat. Well, I found a big box of those. So I thought, well, if ever I'm going to write a book, it's going to be Bean Feast Saved My Life, because I was able to boil water and living on this bean feast for some time. And it was just a case of getting my thoughts together after a few. It was about 6 weeks. I was been living in my car and just kind of in a status of not knowing what to do, where I was. And then I actually remembered I'd got a phone. So I'd not been on the phone. I've not been in touch or anything. So I turned the phone on and there was a heap of texts from the agency that I was working with to say, we've got work, we've got work, we've got work. So I rang them up and they said, well, can you be on site tomorrow? And I was like, oh, right, yeah, okay. So it kind of that snapped me out of it was you're back in work. You're back in the game. So it was again, I'd done a week's work. They paid me weekly, got me wages. I still live in the car, but for the first week, got my wages, managed to get a room, and I was back on it. Fortunately, the person that I'd got the room with, and he was still in Glasgow. I explained her totally what had happened, where I was. I've got this work, and she was a real big help, and was sympathetic to my situation, and that really helped me out.
Yeah, there's quite an impactful story, really, and it's really how we can really self-sabotage the way that we think. I always, when I chat to my pals, and they're having an emotional time and they've been on the sauce or something, don't make a decision when you've been drinking. And the thinking behind that is you need to be making decisions with a rational mind. In your case, that wasn't the case, but you had a set of circumstances, but your rational mind wasn't working for you. It wasn't kicking in, and it took you. So you opened up those bins, got that particular meal. Oh, on me, I've got a phone, and then life changed for you. Other people came into your life. You saw kindness again, and you could dig yourself back up out of it.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell, really. Circumstances. There's always tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. So yeah, just keep going. As I said, my background is you just keep moving forward.
You know what? When you write that book, which I hope you do, I'm going to hold you accountable. I want a signed copy, red pen for extra measure. All right. Listen, but I've got two questions to wrap us up with. They're quite short. What advice would you give what would you say to your younger self from the journey you've had? Yeah, let's go pre-military. Sort of go where you're a young man, you're impressionable, you've been through a bit, and you've got life coming. What advice would you say to yourself?
Relax, be in more control of your emotions. Don't let people take control of your feelings, because they're your feelings, they're not theirs. I think it's a case of if they're hurting my feelings, then I think more of what they say about me than what I say about me. So be in control of your feelings, really.
Love it. And that's something that we do learn, or we should learn as we mature, that's for sure. And the final bit, final question is anybody that your story resonates with, maybe there's a bit of business there for you or whatever, maybe the agency in Glasgow wants to ring you up again. How should they make contact with you?
I'm at Jacobs. I'm on LinkedIn. So it's Iain Copeland. I'm on LinkedIn. I work for Jacobs. So yeah, send me a message via there.
Love it. Okay, brilliant. Well, thanks a lot for your time, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
That's great. Thanks, Tom. Cheers. Bye.